goddamn video right now, man. Help us hit 100% engagement. Like the video. Rolo's put it on a fucking clinic. I'm over here using judo references. Fresh isn't stuttering. We're on fire tonight.
Yeah.
All right? Chris isn't randomly interjecting. Like the goddamn video, bro.
Oh, okay, so here's some advice for women. And it kind of dovetails into what you're talking about is women don't understand the sacrifices that men have to make to facilitate their reality. Another quote from my very first book here. And I think that ladies, when you're with a guy and he's a good guy, he's high value, he's the guy that other men want to be and other women want to fuck. He's that guy, and you have genuine desire for him. He's the guy whose babies you want to have. If you have that guy in your life, understand this. For him to commit to you is a high risk, high stake decision for him to do. And you need to appreciate that. Because women have this entitled sort of hubristic understanding of like, well, I'm entitled, he should. We're doing the right thing because he's obviously, answers the hypergamous question, is he the best I can do? Sure. Okay. But if he's going to commit to you, especially in Western countries, if he's going to go and put his name on a marriage contract or put his name on a mortgage or do all this kind of other stuff with you, he's making those like really life decisions. You have to know the inherent risk that he's taking by doing those things, because as I said before, marriage is a home you build on land that you do not own. You own the land, ladies. Appreciate that fact that he's taking that risk.
They never do.
To try to put a home and try to put most women don't.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to say, if you want to be more feminine, how do I find the right guy? How do I show him I appreciate him? Okay. The first part of appreciating him is understanding the inherent high stake risks that guy has to say, you know what? I've had all these bitches before. They're pretty good. That was fun, but I'm ride or die with you. You want to have my babies. I want to stick it with you. I'm going to, I'm going to be parentally invested. I'm going to protect you. I'm going to provide for you. I'm going to stay in shape for you. I'm going to make money for you. I'm going to do all these things. All of those criteria that you have. If he's all about that, you can't just go, yeah, well, that's what he's supposed to do. Fuck him. That's not appreciation.
Yeah.
You need to appreciate that guy. And however you go about doing that, I don't know like how you express that, what the behavior is, but I do know where it starts. It starts here and acknowledging the fact that he's making all this risk just for you. And he doesn't have to do that.
Take it a step further.
He doesn't have to do that.
I'll say this right now.
Men do not owe you a better life.
Bam.
They don't owe you a better life. But when they say, you know what, I'm going to make your life better, or even just through their actions are making life better, the least you can do is appreciate them and acknowledge and appreciate that.
I'll take it a step further. It used to be women took all the biological risk when they had sex with men and got in relationships with men because they were dealing with the kids and the guy can leave. Now it's flipped. The man takes all the risk because the man is held to a standard by the state should he try to have sex with a woman and run. However, the women can now, not only do they have the ability to get abortions, birth control, etc., women virtually get no risk nowadays if they're not stupid and they decide and they're pro-choice because you can have sex with a man, still get the commitment from him, but he can't run from you. And if he does run from you, he's punished. So I argue in today's day and age, even though women are biologically set up to say, hey, I need security because I take more inherent risk because of my biology, modern conveniences have now made it where now the man takes more risk when he commits to you than the woman does, because women have modern day conventions and technology that allows them to have unilateral control over the birthing process.
And it's one thing for that guy to be a high value man and be completely ignorant of everything you just said, like they're ignorant of the risks that he's taking.
Yeah, a lot of guys
and
don't
then
know.
It's another thing, and probably the guy that women admire and look up to, the guy who is high value and he's the threat, right? He knows his own high value, and that's actually a turn on for most women, right? But he understands his own high value, and he's still going to commit. He's still going to take those risks with you because you're a ride or die girl and he's a ride or die guy. Women will never fully appreciate, like I said, the risks and the sacrifices that men have to make to facilitate that woman's reality. And that goes back to part in my fourth book where I talk about the coverture laws. And back in the late 1800s, maybe it was even before that, maybe early 1800s or even prior to that, but coverture laws were is that if a woman, despite what most feminists will tell you, women could actually own land and they could own money back then. They just couldn't own it and be married. because the coverture laws stated that if that woman had, like, say, inherited a business or inherited land or inherited money of some sorts, that there you go, that all of those assets transfers over to the control of her husband. And people go, oh, that's sexist and that's horrible. No, it's meant to protect the man, the husband in this, because if that woman had all that and she had responsibility over that and she made bad decisions, or there was, like, she got into debt or she went into bankruptcy or whatever else, made bad decisions, it wasn't her who was responsible. It was the husband who was responsible, because that's how marriage worked back then. Mm-hmm. The man was responsible for the woman. That's why
women didn't want to vote too. People don't want to talk about that.
Not unlike what Tommy Sotomayor was talking about how, women are like children, right? Well, that's kind of how they thought of them once women came into a marriage at that time. Right. And again, there's no birth control, there's no sexual revolution back in those days. And so those were what were called the coverture laws. So really what they boil down to is a woman had more power over her own life, more direct, direction over her own life, could control her own life more thoroughly, and had more options, more maneuverability, whatever, outside of marriage than she did inside of marriage. And in book number 4 here,
which I went to go get for you guys,
I argued this. Men are now they have more power over their lives outside of marriage than they do inside of marriage. So it's almost a reversal of the coverture laws, because as soon as that man gets into a relationship into a marriage contract with that woman, all of the rights and all of everything defers to that woman. Mm-hmm. So when she wants to break up with her, she's going to take half of his stuff. Both of them are now responsible for community debt. Then you got the child support. You've got there's a lot of things that go along with that when that marriage dissolves. And so what happens is that creates a state inside of that marriage where that woman is now the head of the household, and the man is the child in that. It's in the eyes of the state, anyways.
Yeah, I know.
Because again, building a house on borrowed land or on land that you don't own. She owns the land, so it's almost like as if a lot of guys. I think the main reason why marriage rates are so low today is because a lot of guys see this. They see it online, on social media, everywhere else today. They see high-profile divorces. They see Mackenzie Bezos and Jeff Bezos, and they see all this stuff that's going on.
So true.
And when we look, I mentioned this on PBD podcast. Dr. Dre. I mentioned this on PBD podcast, is that if you go and you look at the 10 richest women on, I think it's Forbes or it's Morgan Stanley, 10 richest women in the world, every last one of them got it through divorce or they got it through inheritance. They didn't build it themselves. They didn't, not from the ground up. They took it from a man, or it was a resource transfer from a man. And people will say, well, Mackenzie Bezos, she helped build Amazon. I go, yeah, but if she had cashed out all of her assets and all of her holdings from within Amazon, and said, okay, I'm out, thanks a lot, she would not be walking away with $33 billion.
Facts.
She walked away with $33 billion from Jeff Bezos because that's how the divorce worked.
Bro, she wouldn't even walked away with probably $10 million, bro.
If they divested that company and she took all of the assets out of that, she would still not be worth $33 billion.
Fuck out of here,
so
man.
It's as a result, and that's the thing, is that people want to distract you from like divorce laws as a result of this.
Yeah.
But long story short, men have more maneuverability and more power over their lives outside of marriage than they do inside of marriage. Most guys realize that. That's why the marriage rates are in the shitter right now. And so how do we fix that? Well, we've got to have some kind of marriage reform that goes along with that. But until then, ladies, if you've got a guy who is a high value guy, and he understands this, and he knows his own value, and you know his value, and he's the guy that other men want to be and other women want to bang, and then he's the guy who says, you know what? I know I will be losing all this power by getting into a relationship with you, but you're still worth it. And I'm still going to do it. You better fucking appreciate that. You better at least acknowledge that he's taking all this risk and making all of this sacrifice to facilitate a life with you. Women marry a lifestyle. They do not marry the man.
Facts. I would say, I don't think,
clip that and give